You're still watching Ways. Now, this most generous of all holidays was founded to promote and celebrate giving in all its form. The festival is also a grassroots movement to praise and encourage kindness wherever it occurs. This aim of, or rather, the aim of the celebration is actually twofold: to raise awareness of the importance of philanthropy and encourage those not already involved to throw themselves into volunteer and charity work, and to acknowledge the efforts of those who already work to help their fellow humans and deserve to be celebrated. Nobody has to be a philanthropist, but many choose to be and make a world of difference in the world. So happy National Philanthropy Day. I'm happy about this day. I always volunteer. I always do charity, but in my own little way. So
who would you tag to be the biggest or the most richest philanthropist?
Bill Gates.
Is it Bill Gates or Warren Buffett?
Yeah, it has to be Bill Gates. It has to be Bill Gates.
It has to be Bill
Gates.
I
don't think there is any development program going on in Africa that they are not supporting in one way or the other.
Worldwide.
So, I mean, in Africa, I did, my dear.
How about Warren Buffett?
I'm not so conversant with what he has done.
What's the name of his foundation?
But I know.
That's the thing.
Oh, he just donates. Oh, great.
90% of his money to charity.
Oh, that's nice.
That's awesome.
Okay, but personally,
how many homes do we have? How many charitable organizations do we have that actually do things like that in Nigeria?
So I think charitable organizations is different from being a philanthropist, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, those that just donate their money and do things. It's a thin line, though, because you have to have that philanthropy.
People are not interested in doing the work. They just want to give their money to people that are already doing the work. So what Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have is that they have rich people, like the likes of the Warren Buffett and all of that, bringing in a lot of cash into their foundation because they find them credible to be able to do the philanthropic work. Right? So, for instance, again, Bill Gates also encouraged Dangote, and I think that was why they brought the Dangote Foundation. So, a lot of Nigerians are beginning to do it. You know, we are just not. The thing is, we just need a lot more transparency in that space, because for people like us, when we want to do work, it's almost like tooth and nail to get funds, because why? It's been abused drastically. A lot of people just go collect money and they do not do half of even
the
1/4 of what
they just take snapshots and let it be recorded.
So that's what the issue of. But in terms of philanthropy, the big philanthropists, you don't even know them, because what they just do quietly is that they just push all their funds to foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, while these ones are able to do the work at the forefront.
Okay, I would like to recognize a few people, at least those that I know personally. We don't have to have billions of dollars to be philanthropists, and I think that's where I would commend Nigerians, because I think Nigerians really give, even if it's just a drop, like we say, makes it. So you see cases where people really want donation for their health, and those posts go around. In the next 24 hours, they have raised whatever amount it is that they need, and I think that is just amazing of the kind of people we are and what we can do when we have money, right? So for me, I mean, I want to mention Folawe Omikunle, who is the founder of Teach for Nigeria, what they're doing in that sector, because I love education, and maybe because I have an educational background as well. It's just amazing for me, and I just want to give her kudos. And my friend as well, Zil. So what Zil does is that he anonymously pays for people's hospital bill. They don't know who is doing it or why the person is doing it. So he goes to the hospital and find out who has not been able to cover the bill, and he sorts it without them knowing who he is or who did it. So I think that is really amazing. Tony Elumelu just concluded his yearly project for SMEs. That's an amazing one as well.
Almost 5,000 graduates.
Yeah, so
biggest ever since
they started.
So these are people I sort of have worked with, and then of course Google is doing it. So I can't even mention and not mention Google as an organization and what they do in terms of their CSR and pushing grants to brands and all that. So yes, kudos. Those I did not remember, please, your donation is highly appreciated, because like I said, it's not about the huge funds.
Absolutely.
Little drops really help. So if you see any NGO or charitable organization that is doing something like Uwa has said, just donate, even if it's 500 naira.
Also towing your line of thought based on the fact that Nigerians are givers, especially during the NSAS. That's when I actually knew that Nigerians are actually lovers and givers. And they helped a lot of people who couldn't even feed at that particular point in time. And there was a particular lady I saw, she was in a group all the time going from place to place, and she hit the slums, and that was where she was giving out. I think
I like William Suchemba. I like what he does.
Okay.
When you talked about slum, it just brought him to my mind.
Thought, yeah.
He does a lot of work when it comes to
charity. Yes, I remember him.
I think we have a lot of them in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
They're just a bit quiet. They don't
on the down low.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, quickly, let's move on. Elsie, let me start with you. What did you find for
So what did I find? All Progressive Congress, APC, to commence sales of nomination forms for governorship tickets in Ekiti and Osun states on November 16 and 18 respectively. However, the party did not disclose how much the cost of nomination form will be. But taking a cue from what it was for Anambra State, of course, you remember Anambra just had their governorship election, expression of interest form was sold for 2.5 million naira. That's just to express interest. And then the nomination form was sold for 20 million naira. That's a total of 22.5 million naira. It was important for me to take this story when I saw it because of the conversation we're having today. And also for our guest, Ike Messit, I hope he's listening, to maybe start from this point and explain how these funds work and how we can really reduce it, because
oh, wow.
Yeah, 2.5 million for that.
Over to you.
Well, my story is about no PVC, no Holy Communion. An Anglican bishop tells congregants in Delta State. And the Anglican bishop of Asaba Diocese, Right Reverend Justice Mogeku, has canvassed the acquisition of the permanent voters registered voters card for them to be able to receive communion. If you do not have a voters card, you will not be able to receive communion in the church. He canvassed for it in the church. And this actually calls to mind the saying by Mahatma Gandhi that those who believe that religion and politics aren't connected, they do not understand either of them. So I rest my case there.
Interesting.
It's a night of resting cases.
So I saw an interesting write-up by Premium Times, and I thought to mention it. It's quite interesting. It says, the headline says, Buhari spending billions on new cars while borrowing to fund big
projects.
Government. So it says in 2020, so there's a lot of things. Let me just read through what caught my attention. In 2020, the president's office will spend a whopping 1.6 billion on new vehicles, the fourth largest by any government office. That comes just a year after the office spent nearly $500 million on the same item. Then, since coming to power, I liked what they broke down 6 years ago. The president's office has spent about $5 billion on vehicles, enough to build, and this is where I like it, 500 health centers at 10 million naira each. It has spent billions more on food, uniforms, travel, a huge presidential air fleet, president's hospital, and more. Says the expenditure are an example of how Nigeria's federal and state government annually channel scarce public resource into projects that sustain their flashy lifestyle, while critical programs that should benefit citizens are perpetually underfunded. Then it now goes on to say that the 16.4 trillion budget for 2022 has a shortfall of more than 6 trillion and recurrent expenditure of more than 4 trillion, meaning that for every 160 naira, the government spends 60 naira. For every 160 naira the government spends, 60 naira will be borrowed and 40 naira will go to financing government operations, not building badly needed roads and hospitals. I mean, if you find time, read this write-up by Premium Times, and I think it's interesting because it just brings home what we're talking about when we talk about cost of governance. So we'll take a break now. When we return from the break, we're going to be discussing elections and the cost. Stay with us, we'll be right back.